Game of Thrones is back and we're all really excited for it, and hopefully maybe there's some secret spoilers for us that are already out there in the book, The Lands of Ice and Fire. It's a map of the world of Westeros and beyond, and what lays beyond in the world, and maybe what lies beyond for us in the series. So of course we have the city of Braavos, the towering pyramid of the slave city Meereen. We have seas that we've never heard of, and Dothraki feared lands, the gray area, of course.
If this book pops up on your Amazon recommended list, it's not the 6th book. It's just maps.
Well, I hope you could figure that out by the picture of the giant map on the cover.
There are already reviews on this book for 1 star because there's all maps and no words.
Guys, don't do that.
I know. But anyway, so this looks really cool to me because not only does it feature areas of the world of Westeros and Essos that haven't been brought up in the books yet, but ones that George R.R. Martin didn't ever draw out or map out or anything. So he worked with this guy, Jonathan Roberts, thank you, who helped flesh out these areas of the world, and based on different canons and lores and all kinds of cool stuff, and where they went with it actually turned out what looks to be really, really cool.
Also, some of these maps, from what I was reading, hint at storylines and where they're taking them. So it's kind of one of those things where now you're going to get people, just coming up with, oh, well, this is why this is there. Is there a spoiler in here? Is this because we're going to move the storyline to this area? And they were also made kind of what the maesters would have done before, so there's no actual distances placed. The only measurable object is the wall, which is 300
it's
miles.
supposed to be 300 miles. That's the only scale measurement we get.
Yes, that's it.
Which is a cool way to think about map making, is it's not super exact or intricate because at the time this was the technology that they would have used to make these maps. So cool areas that I think will be interesting to extrapolate upon. The Great Sand Sea, the Cannibal Sands, the City of the Winged Men, the jungle continent of Ulthos.
Oh, but what about the seas? The Bleeding Sea, Sea of Sighs. Those sound foreboding
the cities
for a certain
of
traveling
bloodless
queen.
men. Also, people on the internet are kind of freaking out by the inclusion of Carcosa.
It's been mentioned before in different works of literary fiction.
Yes,
right?
Originally an ancient city mentioned by Ambrose Bierce in a story, The Inhabitant of Carcosa, about the King in Yellow. The Yellow King and the city of Carcosa are seen in literature a bunch of times, not just True Detective, but also H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King, and now obviously Game of Thrones.
And apparently George R.R. Martin had already kind of mapped out these places. I mean, he's not a cartographer, but he did have his own depictions of the places. And Jonathan Roberts, when he started compiling them, he says he was used to having these not be very accurate, not be able to match because the scales are off or the details are slightly skewed in one versus another. And he said that this time it was seamless. It was so easy because he was so focused on detail. I'm not saying it's Tolkien-esque level, but it's definitely something where he's fixated on these things and he's been doing it for a really long time by himself.
I think that's a big part of building a rich world that people can get behind if they can physically follow along and it feels like a tangible place.
Do you think there's a chance George R.R. Martin might retcon any of this map that's been laid out for us?
He certainly has the ability to, since he went with the unfamiliar areas and not real specific mapping technology. So he can change stuff by saying, oh, the maps were wrong because they didn't understand. So we'll fix that later
Parts of the
and
map are
sew
pink,
that back up.
like grasslands and water, and it's like, it wouldn't really be pink.
Something that this brought up that I had forgotten I really liked was that pink ghost grass that they talk about that when the Khal and Khaleesi are walking across Essos. And there's eventually the grass will cover the whole world and that'll bring about the end times. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that cool element. I want to know what's going on over there with the pink grass.
The Shadowlands. And it is actually gray, as the Dothraki would describe it, maybe. So there's much for you to discover out there in the lands of ice and fire. Maybe potential spoilers. Maybe George R.R. Martin will disavow them all. We don't know. What do you think of potential secrets and spoilers not necessarily made by George R.R. Martin out there? And would you read this cartography book, not the 6th book? Do not be fooled. Let us know what you think below in the comments, and please be sure to subscribe.